Now we got the thumbnail out of the way. Let's talk about this. I've faced a ton of criticism, and rightfully so, for the past, particularly the past few months. But I'm just gonna move the AK-47 out of my way. So here's the thing. I've changed my trading strategy more times than I can count over the past year. Meaning from right now, June of 2025, going all the way back into June of 2024. My trading approach, the approaches remain largely the same, but the risk structure, the method of entry, this and that, the stop loss placement, the management of the trade, that has all changed radically a bunch of times. And here's the honest reason. I have been desperately trying to figure out how to make my trading approach work that I've been using for the past 7 years at this point, 7 years of profitable trading. I've been trading for 9, but the past 7 years of trading, I've been trying to make it work with a regulated broker. It has not worked. The FIFO rule, the anti-hedging rule, the incredibly low margin that gets chewed up by even just entering one trade with a fraction of the risk that I normally would. The incredibly low leverage, 1 to 50 leverage with a regulated broker in the US is so low. And on top of that, most pairs aren't even leveraged that way. EuroCAD, USDCAD, and EuroUSD are all 1 to 50 leverage. Everything else is 1 to 30 or lower. So there's some pairs I'm getting like 1 to 10 leverage on. I can't be in multiple trades at the same time. I can't even risk what I would normally want to risk at the same time. I can't add to winning positions or even really losing positions in the same way. That's why DCA didn't work with it whenever I tried to switch it at the end of last year to figure out whether or not it would work. I've tried all sorts of things. I have tried quite literally everything in a desperate, just feeble attempt to try to get this to work, and it hasn't. It's failed. At the beginning of last year, I went on a huge win streak. My trading was going amazing. I made $180,000 over the course of a 6-week period from the month of March all the way into about May. I guess the beginning of June, you could say. And everything was going so good. It was going beautiful. Then my broker pulled my licenses from me. The last unregulated broker that I was using, they pulled their MetaTrader licenses, said I couldn't trade with them. They didn't give me ACT Trader or TradeLocker or any other option to trade with. So I had no choice except to withdraw my funds and leave. And they gave me my payout. They gave me my deposit as well as the $183,000 of profit I made with them because I had 3 accounts with them. I withdrew them all. They gave it to me, but I essentially was effectively suspended from trading with them, and they gave me no explanation. My agent on on Telegram, my agent on Telegram would not respond, and their support team wouldn't respond either. They would close down the chats when I'd start talking about it and give them my account number. It was ridiculous. So I decided to say, screw it. I'm going to use a regulated broker, and never again am I going back to unregulated brokers. Now, what I've been doing the past few years, successfully so, using a portfolio of unregulated brokers, because if I've got all my trading capital, right, let's use a round number here. Let's say you have $1 million in trading capital. What I would do is I'd have 3, 4, 5 brokers, and I would just split the funds up, right? I put 50K into each of them, or put 50 to 100K in each of them, and I would trade those with high leverage, obviously, and risking a lot per trade because, yes, it's a high portion of the account I'll risk, but it's a low portion of my total capital, right? If you put a 50K account in with one broker, but say you have $1 million to trade with allocated to Forex, if you lose that 50K account, that's like losing 5% of your capital. It's not really that big of a deal, right? That's like a normal losing streak is losing 3, 4, 5%. And it worked really well for me. And what I would do is I would double the accounts. I'd use the high leverage, 1 to 500. I'd use the low commissions. For example, CoinEx was giving me $2 per standard lot. I had one broker giving me $3 per standard lot, and then some of them were giving like $5 per standard lot. I think at one point I was using like Hugo's Way. At one point I was using Nash Markets. At one point I was using a couple others, which names I don't even need to mention, just because it's not. I don't want to be affiliated with any of those brokers, and I don't want anyone to ever say that I did any sort of a partnership or anything, because I've never had any sort of IB affiliate contract partnership. I've never referred anyone to a broker just because I know the kind of shit they pull. A lot of these unregulated brokers are B-book, and they'll B-book you from the start, especially if you lose money. And then the only people that get A-booked is if you start trading profitably from the beginning, and then they can have the funds to pay you out. And even then, sometimes you still won't get A-booked. You'll probably get B-booked. I was probably B-booked with a lot of these brokers, and one of them in particular, I won't say the name, but it's one of the brokers that I just mentioned. It took them 3 weeks to give me a payout. And their support team would disconnect whenever I would try to live chat with them. I had to talk to one of my friends that was a partner with that broker to have him talk to, I don't know how much of this I should say, but I'm just going to say it with you guys, to talk to the owner of that broker, because they took over a new owner, and it's an offshore broker, but the owner lives here in the US, to tell him to go and initiate the withdrawal to pay me out my funds. And it was a crypto deposit. There's so much bullshit I've had to deal with. And then using a regulated broker has come with even more bullshit than that. Because what I would do is I would just grow an account with unregulated brokers, withdraw half, and everything worked really fine for quite a long time. I mean, literally, like, what was that, like 6 years? It worked perfectly fine. Everything was fine. Like 2018, roughly the beginning of the year, whenever I opened up my first account with CoinEx. Before that, I was using Trader's Way back in 2016. It's the broker I started with. It's the broker I blew my first account, my first $20 account. I blew it in 15 minutes with Trader's Way. And then I started using CoinEx. They changed from, they were like FinPro, or they were called something else. They changed to CoinEx. I was using them since 2018. And then a bunch of other brokers as well, like just shit tons, like dozens of brokers that I've all experimented with and tested out over the years. And it's always worked fine, provided I didn't just put that much capital with them. So that way, in case they did something sketchy, I lose that amount with the broker, but I have all the other accounts with my other brokers. And I haven't had too many issues long term until MetaQuotes last year started raising the price of MetaQuotes and MetaTrader 5, MetaTrader 4. And they pulled their licenses for anyone that was using a white label broker, which is a lot of the unregulated brokers that you'll find online. They're all white label. So they're not main labels. Otherwise, if they're white label, they have to pay like more to MetaQuotes. So that's why you saw last year a bunch of brokers went to TradeLocker and ACT Trader and whatever the fuck else their little platforms are that they created natively. And it was a nightmare trading those. And I wanted to stay with MetaTrader. And so I had to find an option that worked. And, you know, the regulated broker here in the US that I use was working, at least with that app. So with all this shit I had to deal with, I was unable to make my trading approach work. And the entire last half of last year, 2024, summer all the way to the end of the year, I did not make a profit trading Forex. I, in fact, lost money. The only reasonable I was profitable to begin with in 2024 is because I had a huge win streak at the beginning of the year. I made a little over $180,000, and then I lost about $100,000 over the course of the rest of the year. No, more than that. I lost like $140,000 because I came out the end of the year last year, $44,000 profit in FX. It's the lowest profit I've ever made in a year trading FX since I've been profitable, including my first year. So like, I mean, at least it was profitable. Yeah. But like, that's not really that great to jump up and down and scream about. You know, I made 40K for the year trading. Most people make nothing. So I guess 40K is better than nothing, but that's like a good month of trading, right? I could probably make 20, 30, 40 grand. And then I don't know. So it sucked. This year, I have not made any money at all trading. I have, in fact, lost over $100,000 with the regulated broker I'm using. And yesterday, I just withdrew all my accounts. Or day before yesterday, like a day or two ago, I withdrew all my capital from them. It has been painful. It has been horrible. But this is the truth. It sucked. I've had some winning streaks and gone on some winning streaks for like a couple weeks or a month or two, then losing streaks and back and forth, break-even periods, this and that. But net, I'm down like 100K I think it's like 120K on the year with the broker I was using, the regulator one. So this marks one calendar year in which I have in fact not made a profit from Forex trading. And not only that, I have actually lost money, in fact. Like, what is it, $240,000? A lot of it's just profit that I gave back from my huge win streak at the beginning of last year. So I'm not actually down that much. I'm down 44K profit last year with the 120K this year. So net, I'm down, whatever that is. And so yesterday, the day before, I just decided to say, screw it. I'm going to go back to an unregulated broker. So I looked up ChatGPT, a few options. I looked into getting like a Palau ID. You guys can go look this up to try to get in accounts with these different brokers and jump through all the rabbit holes of crypto funding and all this sketchy bullshit you have to go through. But it's just my trading approach is, I will go ahead and say it. It is virtually impossible to do with a regulated broker. You do not have the margin available to add aggressively to winning trades. You just don't. Like the leverage is so low. Even if I had like $500,000 with them, I still wouldn't have been able to do it. The FIFO rule makes it a pain in the ass to do multiple positions and set various stop losses for each of them. Because if you add one position, it goes into profit. You add a second position, it goes into profit. You add a third position, and you've got break-even stops on those. If it goes up all the way to stop out your second position at break-even, the FIFO rule says, well, no, you have to close the first position first. So it's the first in, first out rule. So it won't stop out your second position at break-even and leave the first one. No, it'll go there and hit that stop loss, and then it closes the entire basket of positions with the broker I was using. Huge pain in the ass. How do you even deal with that, right? What the fuck do you even do? Like, you can't do anything. And so it virtually just dictates that risk structure couldn't work. The risk structure I was using, in which I enter a trade and I structure it with a 1-to-1 risk reward ratio, and then I close it manually, usually at a break even or a small loss or halfway to the stop loss if it doesn't work. And then if it does win, I would either hold the trade and then protect the position with a break even stop, or I'd add to the winning trade, which is what I'm doing now since I'm able to, since I have all the margin and stuff. And it worked amazing because the commissions were low. Swap fees weren't a big deal to begin with at all, but the commissions were like anywhere from $2 to $3 to $5 per standard lot with all the pairs. with this regulated broker I was using, the commissions were sometimes $15 to $19 per lot. You enter, like say I enter a Euro USD trade, or not a Euro USD, I think it was like GBP CAD, whatever the pair with this broker that's like, they charge $19 per lot. I think it might have been GBP CAD. And so it's almost $20 a lot. You enter 5 standard lots, that's $100 commission. Like, it's crazy. And the spreads are higher with the regulated brokers. It's with unregulated, yes, they are dog shit. They are degenerate. They are offshore chest beating chimpanzees jumping up and down trying to steal your money. But at the same time, what other option do you have, especially if you're in the US? If you want to go try to use regulated broker and try to make an approach, like I'm somebody who like has been trading live for like my entire trading career since I started my Telegram channel back in 2018. There's a link in the description. You can join you can literally scroll all the way back into 2018. You can see my Telegram channel. I've been sharing trades live in there since before I even started like a formal like subscription group with Mission FX. I was posting my live trades in there. Even when I was selling a course, I still just called my live trades for free. And then I was like, yeah, if you want to learn how I do it, be in the group chat, ask me questions, you can buy the course. And that was back in like 2019, 2020. Even with all that, like trading has always been fine, more or less, right? I've had winning streaks and losing streaks, sure, like just like everyone. But it's never been this painful. So here's what I've done to fix it. I've gone back to my exact trading approach I was using last year. The one that was working so well. The one that only works if you're having a broker that has high leverage, a lot of margin for you to enter trades, so high leverage and high margin. Low commissions. The broker I'm using charges, I think right now it's $3 per standard lot. I think it might be $5, but the account I got with them, because of my deposit, I was able to get $3 per standard lot. And then on top of that, what's the fourth thing? There's the fourth thing. I'm sorry, I'm trying to like remember all this shit that I can tell you guys in the video. The high leverage, high margin, low commissions, and then the fourth thing is low spreads. That's what it is. There's very, very low spreads. Like the spreads that sometimes when I enter, is kind of like the forex.com raw pricing account where sometimes it's literally zero on pairs like Euro USD during liquid sessions. And the spreads are similar with this broker that I'm using. They're unregulated. They're degenerate offshore. I'm not going to say the name of any broker I'm using ever again, like, because I do not want anyone getting roped into them and saying, well, I heard Nick Sean was using that, and then the broker fucked me over. And then there will be conspiracy theories that I've seen come out before that are like, oh, Nick Sean's affiliated with that broker and that's why he's promoting them or saying them, even though I've never taken a penny from any broker for any sort of affiliate referral sponsorship bullshit thing. I don't trust any broker, none of them, not even the regulated one that I was using, because there's even with the broker I was using, the regulated one, I really have trouble saying names here on this video because I don't want these organizations and brokers to like come to me and say, hey, you said this, and then because you said that, blah, 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 blah. I don't want to say the name, but with the one I was using, they're regulated. There's threads on Reddit saying that people who are profitable trading with them got their account suspended and shut down. You go look it up. Regulated brokers in the US closing the accounts of profitable traders. And barely anyone's profitable, right? You're in the low single digit percentages of people who are profitable. They're getting their account shut down by regulated brokers in the US, right? And of course, maybe everyone's making it up. But when you start seeing dozens and dozens and dozens of stories of shit like that happening, it just makes you like lose faith in humanity and lose faith in the whole system. Like it's hard enough to be profitable than to find a broker that you can even do it with and that will actually give you back your deposits and withdrawals of profits. You're just... It's I don't know. It's so hard. So it's been a frustrating past year to say the least. Now, things are going great. I'm really excited now, just because now that I've switched brokers and everything, I will show you the first 24 hours of my results, right? And again, if you're not in the Nick's Trades group, this is a subscription group. It's $250 a month right now. I'm going to raise the price soon to probably like $500 a month. I've been wanting to do that, but I had trouble doing that when the results have just been like either break even or small win streaks or losing streaks. So I didn't raise the price. It's $250 right now. The first day that I switch back to my roots, right, and back to everything, I've called these trades out here. I'm going to go through them all in the chart here in a second. I'll show you literally everything, exactly how I do it. And also you can follow all these trades live in the free Telegram channel. I post my trades. I post the analysis, explanations, little simple chart screenshots showing what I think will happen and why. And I call all the exact trades in my the Nick's Trades Discord group. This is $13,000 profit so far, just this morning. Like this is like literally 24 hours, and the account was started. I funded 100K. It was 103,000. There was a little bit extra just because the value of crypto went up as I was sending it to the broker, and so by the time it cleared, it was like 103,000 for the deposit. But it's a 100K account started. It's up like 13K. So with this, here's the way that I'm doing it, right? So in Nick's Trades, you can see this is how I'm calling it out now. This is the first one. USD, CHF, and long. So what I do is I send out a screenshot of the trading view analysis, right? Very simple. Generally, I'll have show if it's in a downtrend or it's an uptrend, or if I'm buying at support or selling at resistance. I structure the trade by entering, and then I put a huge stop loss that's very unlikely to hit, right? So that most of the time it'll come down, probably bounce. I can get a break even or a small loss. But even if it hits, I lose 10K. It's 10% of this account. And that's okay because it has high leverage and you never have to worry about getting margined out. Then I'll show the screenshot of the trade that I took. Then I'll show the chart terminal, the trading terminal, the P&L terminal. You can see the account was started with 103,000, and then I entered these trades, and you can see all this. So that's it. Then I send an audio message breaking down the trade details, the reasons for the trade, the risk structure for the trade, how I'm going to manage the trade, a bunch of other bullshit about the trade that you can find out about the trade if you want to trade the trade. And then I'll do shit like this. So I've added to USD CHF and moved the stop up from the original entries to break even. I could not do this with Forex.com, with the broker that I was using. I couldn't use that. I couldn't do this with my regulated broker that I was using, right? Because I would not have margin. I couldn't even enter another separate trading idea because I would have one and it would chew up all the margin, and I was not even able to risk, in most cases, 10K. I had to risk like $500 or $1,000 per trade. So even when I'm winning and on a win streak, I'm making a couple $1,000s instead of like $20, $30, $40, $50,000. There was one day last year where I made $80,000 in a day. And for the week, I made like $120,000 that week. And that was the best day and best week of my entire trading career. And it was last year doing exactly this. So let's go into it a little bit more. So I added to the winning trade, then moved the stop loss to break even for the first trade. And you can see how close it is, right? Very, very close to the entries. And then that means that if it stops out very quickly, right, I break even on that trade, but then it leaves the second trade I enter, which is very close to the entry, and the stop and the target are roughly the same, right? $10,000 risk for a potential $10,000 profit. So it's never like that big of a deal, right? Like the worst case scenario, it's like best case scenario, it goes up and I make 20,000 on both trades. Worst case scenario, it hits the break even stop for the first trade, but then I'm still sitting in the same trade for, $10,000 risk, and then it goes and I lose 10K if it hits the stop. And again, most of the time it won't hit the stop because I can dynamically manage it and just close it manually based on discretion. The stop is there just in the case of like an emergency. But ideally, it's like holding to the target, trying to get out of it if it starts to not work, and only adding in profit. So you can pause the video. You can go read through this. This is all the history from yesterday. You can see all the stuff that I've done. I'm doing this for all of you because I know a lot of you guys, you're really interested in what I'm doing. And now that I'm finally get back to my roots, I put a post in Telegram yesterday. I didn't know how I'd structure this video, so I took an extra day. I was going to make this video yesterday, but I took an extra day to kind of be able to collect my thoughts and kind of get together everything that I was going to talk about. So everything's here. So make sure you pause the video at whatever you want so you can read everything. You can see everything I've done all the way up to right now. This is the end of it. So a lot of these trades, we'll cover the last one, right? So this is CHF JPY. So yesterday I called out a trade on CHF JPY. The trade's based on the daily chart, 4-hour chart, just like I was doing before, just like I was doing last year. The price went really far in one direction. It was really overextended. I thought it was going to have a pullback down. I then went to the 4-hour. I saw price was starting to like reject and slow down, and it was like failing to make new highs, and it was doing all this shit here. It rejected it like 1, 2, 3 times, 4 times if you count all the shit that happened in the middle. So for whatever reason, I just thought it would go down. So I structured the trade by putting an entry there, a stop way above the zone and the highs and current price, and then a target at just a 1-to-1 risk reward ratio. The 1-to-1 risk reward ratio is just to structure the trade. Okay. It's not like I've never just stuck to the 1-to-1 risk reward ratio and let it hit stop and let it hit target. In the beginning, it's great to do that because it shows you that you're only going to have a 50% win rate. But the idea is that once you start getting experience and you get a little discretion and stuff, you can then start adding to the trades that win. So you make more whenever you do win a 1-to-1 risk reward ratio. And then you start getting out of trades early and not adding to them if you're going to lose or if it starts losing. So that way you keep the losses a little bit smaller and the profits a little bit bigger. That's how you get profitable. A 1-to-1 risk reward ratio is only profitable by holding it to TP or stop loss if you have above a 55% win rate to account for commissions and fees. And you can do that too. There's people who have 60, 65, 70% win rate. That you can do that. Works perfectly fine. It just works even better if you manage it dynamically and don't hold it all the way to the stop loss. The stop loss is there for like an emergency to give you room to exercise your discretion without just getting stopped out over and over and over. So I got into this trade, and then as it started going into profit, I began to add to this trade. Now, how did I add to the trade? It's essentially like this. I'll show you. The same risk structure I used for the first one, right? So let's say the first entry is right there, as you can see on the screen. The second one was added right here. Then what happens is the first position gets moved to break even, and then the second position has the same distance of stop loss as the first one had. See how it's 142 pips? The first entry, fuck, it took me away from the pair. Okay. All right, let's try this shit again. The first entry had a 142 pip stop loss. So what happens is here, the best case scenario is that since the first one's moved to break even and the second position is added, the best case or the worst case scenario is that price pops up and then stops this first position out at break even, and then you're still sitting in roughly the same trade, right? I mean, yeah, your stop's like 10 pips lower in terms of price in the chart, and your target's a little bit lower to represent a 1 to 3, but you're sitting in the same essential trade if it stops out, right? So even if you have 2-3 entries all in profit and they all go back up and stop out, you're stopped at break even on all those, and you're sitting in roughly the same trade with just a slightly shittier entry. That's actually what happened here. It actually stopped out the first one at break even, and then what happened is I called to add another position after this morning. And again, I already showed the whole history for the whole past 24 hours in here. You can go and you can see all this. You can pause the video, you can zoom in, you can see everything in there. And then of course, I should ask you should just join MFX Next Trade. Just subscribe to it. I call all my trades in there. We do live sessions every day. You can ask me anything in the group chat. It's just like a full comprehensive place to get help, and it's only $250 a month. It's like practically free. So with this being said, I added to that. And then whenever I added to the position as your CHF JPY started going down, I then moved the stop to break even for that earlier position. And then as it went into more profit, it went down here. I think I have 3 positions here so far. Yeah. The initial entry was up there. The second entry was down here, right? And they're all 10 lots. That first one is 9 plus 1 because I do one standard lot, then I drag the stop loss in place so that way I can see what the risk is. In that case, the risk was $1,000 for one lot, so I knew I needed to have 10 standard lots total to make it a $10,000 risk. So that I had the one lot, I just added the 9 plus 1 equals 10 standard lots. At that stop loss, it's a $10,000 risk. And then I know for the future ones, I just need to be 10 lots. So I added another 10 lots, put the stop to break even there in the second one. Then it's fallen into profit. Now I've added another sell, and you can see the stop loss up here. It was previously a little bit higher, right? So it's at the original position, it was just a little bit higher. But now what happens is if this pops up and stops all these original positions out at break even, then I break even, and then I'm down a couple $1,000s on this sell. And it could still work out, right? Because the stop loss is still way above the highs. It's a big invalidation zone. That's why it's important to have a really big invalidation zone originally as you structure the trade. Because it just makes it unlikely to hit, and it gives you plenty of time and room to manage the trade dynamically in a very fluid and nuanced way based on your experience. But if it does go down here to this profit target, it's going to be $10,000 for that trade, and it's going to be $12,000 to $13,000 each for the previous subsequent trades. So if CHF JPY decides to pop back up and chop around for a little bit, sweet. I'll break even on those, and then I'll probably just hold the sell. And if it comes back down and starts going sideways, I'll probably just get out of it, break even, or small loss or small profit. It's no big deal. Or worst case scenario, it hits the stop loss and I lose 10K. And that's not even that big of a deal to begin with either. But if it goes into profit, I will make $30,000 to $34,000. I posted this in the Telegram channel this morning, right? So this is 13K. This is nothing. If all these trades work, I could easily make $50,000. If half of these work and the other half stop out or get break even or something, I could make at least $50,000 on these. This is Euro JPY as well. I did the same thing, right? I entered a total of 3 positions by just starting the original position with the original stop. As it went into profit, I instantly added another position and then moved the stop to break even for the second or for the first position. And then as I went into even more profit, I added a third position and then moved the stop loss to break even for the previous position on that. So I had the first and second entries sitting with a break even stop. And my only real trade here that has any real risk, right, to the actual balance of the account, not the equity, but the balance, is this last trade. And if that goes up and it stops out, I'll lose 10K. And if it goes down here, I'll make like 30K on this. I posted here in the Telegram channel. I posted all this stuff. The link to this is the first link in the description of the video, or I'll put it in the pinned comment or something. But this is my Telegram where I share all my analysis and trades and stuff. This is a breakdown of what it looks like to add. This is when I was adding to CHF JPY. I added another position to CHF JPY, moved the stop to break even for the previous 10 lot position. I set the stop loss at the shown location in the image, which was further up. It's a 10K risk if it loses, and I've also adjusted all the take profits a bit lower to account for winning at least 10K in the last entry if she wins. It'll be a 12K profit for each previous entry. There's 2 previous entries, which will be $24,000 profit, plus 10K to make for a net profit of $34,000 on the table here if price continues falling without any pullbacks. That's one big if, right? Because it's not always going to do that. As a matter of fact, most of the time it won't do that. But it's no big deal because as long as... This thing that got screwed up again. It's no big deal because as long as you're structuring the risk, then it still works perfectly fine. Yeah, so I'm going to have to figure out how to get my chart back here on CHFJPY because now it just took out the long short position tool. But you get the point. It is buying or selling wherever the hell you think price is going to bounce out or go to, and using a risk to reward ratio that allows you to kind of give the ability to manage the trade dynamically if it starts going into profit or loss. What the fuck does that mean? That just means adding to it if it starts to win, moving the stops to break even for previous positions, and then if it starts to lose, trying to get out of it if you can. Like, I'm not saying get out of it the moment it goes into 5 pips in a drawdown, but I'm saying like if it starts going sideways, it tried to break down lower, then it came right back up above the area, and then it started going sideways, and then it starts trickling up with higher highs and higher lows in the lower time frames. When you're in a sell on the daily chart, you put everything together and you're like, this doesn't look like it's ready to go right now. I'm just going to get out here. And then maybe you lose like a fourth of what your original risk was. If I risk 10K, maybe I lose like 2,500 if it starts to lose, right? But it's dynamic and it depends. But the worst case imaginable is I'll lose 10K, and that's like nothing for what the profits can be. So with that being said, this is the exact way I was trading last year. This is when the first half of last year just went so beautifully, and I was so happy, and I was a much better person back then, and I was less stressed out, and I was not so frustrated with having to deal with all the stupid broker issues I've been dealing with. And now that I've been able to finally just bite the bullet and switch back and just accept that it was a complete failure trying to do this with a regulated broker, at least for my trading approach. You can make another approach work, but it's like barely profitable because you can barely use the sizing you want. Like if you're good at trading and you use your skill set to your advantage, you can use leverage. I mean, yeah, it can magnify losses, sure. But if you know what you're doing, it magnifies the gains a lot. And it makes trading so much easier. Like not having to worry about, do I have enough margin to enter this next position? But you don't. And so you have to skip the next trade that you would have taken. And you can't even add to the current trade that's you're winning on. And then you watch it go into profit, and you watch the other one would have gone into profit. You could have made like 10, 20 grand on that. But instead, you've made like only a couple grand instead of what you're used to making. So I wanted to make a video about all this. A lot of you guys in the last video asked me to. You said, hey, Nick, we want to hear it. What's going on? Why have you changed your strategy a million times? This is why. I was desperately trying to get it to work with the broker I was using, the U.S. regulated broker I was using, and ultimately it was a failure for a whole year. It's been the most painful part of my trading career, but I'm going to take it on the chin, and I'm going to keep going, and I'm very happy that things are back to normal. The fact that I'm using back to my degen, unregulated broker ways. And I'm going to look for a few other brokers and, like I said, experiment with like a Palau ID. Some brokers will allow you to have a PAM or MAM account with them if you're a U.S. resident, but they won't allow you to trade an account with them. So there's one thing I'm also looking at where I can use this thing called Duplicium, which is like a trade copier service. And you can create a demo account with whatever broker, like IC Markets or, whatever broker you're using. You can create a demo account, and then you don't have to, it doesn't matter if you're a U.S. resident to do that, but you can create a demo account and then use Duplicium to then trade copy it onto that broker that you want to use, but as an investor account through their MAM service or PAM service, because you don't have to be you don't have to not be a U.S. resident to have a investor account with them, just the master account. But the master account could be a demo account. You can copy it onto all those other live accounts. So there's a couple things I want to experiment with doing. A lot of it might be kind of a pain in the ass, but it's just, it was time to bite the bullet and say, I've tried this. I've given it a whole year, and it just wasn't working with that broker. So now I'm back to my roots. I'm already sitting in over a $10,000 profit in the first day. If these trades win, I'll make like $40,000, $50,000 and then more. So I'm going to make back all the money I've lost over the course of the past current year, and fuck tons more. And I couldn't be more excited. So here's the video you guys asked for. If you like this video, or you want to comment, or you want to subscribe, or do whatever. I'm not your dad. You go do whatever the hell you want to do. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.